Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome once again to the vast and ominous Comic Vault. It's time for rapid-fire comic reviews. It's been a couple weeks since I last did rapid-fire comic reviews, and it really sucks. I just brought this back. I was like, hey folks, I'm doing new comic reviews every week again, and then I haven't done it the last couple weeks. Sorry about that. I have been super swamped with things. I've had trips, and my wife's birthday was this last week, and Arkham Knight, and Father's Day, and tons and tons of stuff going on. So anyway, it's been tough to get these out, and I've been reading comics. I've been planning to do these, and then I've had days where it just was impossible to get them in. So anyway, going to do these as often as humanly possible. Thanks for bearing with me, sure appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody. You know, it feels, come to think of it, it's like confession. It's like it has been 2 weeks since my last comic review. I feel like Matt Murdock doing comic reviews. Anyway, so thanks for bearing with me, appreciate it. I have a pretty sizable stack this week of stuff to review for you, and that's because I'm going to talk about a few things that came out over the last couple of weeks, besides just things that came out this week. So I'm not going to talk about everything that I did, that I read last week, but a few things here and there are going to crop up. And the first thing I want to talk about, because I didn't get a chance to do this last week, or I think these came out last week, Batman 41 and Detective Comics 41. So, or was this the week before? Anyway, over the last couple of weeks, these came out. And so we've got Jim Gordon now, is now kind of infamous in the mech batsuit. And I swear, eventually, everybody, like 20 or 30 years from now, we will be in a place where everybody and his dog, literally, has been in the Batsuit. Like, we'll have Ace the Bat Hound will be Batman for a stint, and, like, Leslie Tompkins, and, like, who's the mechanic that fixes the Batmobile, like, that guy will have been Batman. Like, everybody is going to be Batman. So, Jim Gordon in the Batsuit, is it a terrible idea? I don't know, I think him as Batman isn't as weird of a thing for me as just the premise of the GCPD doing this the way they're doing it. There's a certain logic to, now that Batman's gone, wouldn't it be cool if we had a sanctioned vigilante, if we had a police officer that worked within the law, but that kind of used the same sort of theatricality that Batman does to kind of strike fear into the hearts of criminals and that kind of thing. I guess the verdict is out as to whether or not he's gonna have jurisdiction and be able to do things that a regular police officer wouldn't be able to do, and actually work outside of the rules, even though we're saying that he's working within the law. He's a little brutal with criminals here, and it just makes me sort of wonder how far we're really working within the law and how different this really is from just Gordon working with Batman in the first place. I mean, if you could trust the guy to not intentionally kill people and to not go too far in brutalizing criminals, then I don't really understand how this is any different than Gordon working with Batman in the first place. But anyway, I guess we'll see, because we're only an issue in for each of these. By the way, if you've only read Batman 41, this is a decent counterpart piece to it, and Detective Comics 41, and I really like Bucceletto's voice for especially Bullock, but also Gordon, and I really like it when Detective Comics is actually a detective book, when we're focusing mostly on the investigation aspects and not the action, and that's, the detective has been that way for a while, and I really appreciate that about this book. I've been hearing really great things about what this has been lately, and especially Bullock's character, and so it's really cool right now we've got Bullock right in the heart and the meat of what's going on in regular Batman stories, because Gordon is Batman, and so it's basically like Gotham Central with Commissioner Gordon in a batsuit. And so I don't know, I think there is fun to be had here. I think the writing in both of these is really up to spec and really quite great. I just don't know how I feel about the premise overall. I don't know how much sense it makes. Toward the beginning of Batman 41, we've got a bunch of younger cops training to potentially be in the Batman mech suit. And they're training in kind of makeshift Batman outfits. And I found myself wondering two things. The first, of course, is why not just like have a whole squad of Batmen. I mean, because everybody thinks that Batman's dead, not just the police department. This issue makes a really big deal out of the entire city thinks he's dead. So when suddenly this thing shows up with a bat symbol on it, but otherwise doesn't really look that much like Batman and has like big rabbit ears, and they even talk about the whole rabbit ear thing, and it's kind of odd that, you know, people have been complaining about how silly this looks, and then the issue comes right out and says how silly it looks, and I wonder how much of that was there already, and how much of it is just responding to criticism and saying, no, trust us, this is going to be cool, just wait, we've got, you know, plans and reasons for the aesthetic and stuff like that, because, like, you know, I forget if it's the lady that runs the Powers Corporation, or if it's the head of the GCPD, but but somebody in this actually comes right out to Gordon and is like, "This is Batman now. You know, get used to it. It's going to be okay. You got to get on board." And I really wondered if there wasn't a little bit of if that wasn't there a little bit to like say that to the audience also. And then at the end of Batman 41, there is an interview with Greg Capullo and with Scott Snyder saying, "Yeah, we know that a lot of folks are going to be really unsure about this, and it's going to seem like a really strange idea in the first place, but just stay with us, and it's going to be cool." And you know, I am inclined to do that, because again, the premise is odd, but these are characters I like, and I fell in love with Snyder's writing on Batman in the first place through Black Mirror, which had those great Batman, or those great Gordon backup features, and then we did the whole the really super creepy story with James Gordon and you know, James Jr. And so, I mean, you know, I fell in love with Snyder's writing before he was even writing Bruce Wayne, and when it was primarily Gordon and Dick Grayson. And so, even if I don't love this premise, I'm sure I'm gonna really enjoy the characterization of Gordon, and I already am. But I just sort of wondered, well, if it doesn't look like Batman, if it's a police-sanctioned thing, and if it kind of looks like he's just working with the police, which it sort of does, and it sort of looks like it would to anybody looking on, why not just have a bunch of people in like regular bat suits, just to drive the point home that the spirit of Batman is not dead, and that you know, the police have you know, learned a lot from him, and that the police are not going to allow the rampant crime that's happening now because everybody thinks that Batman's dead. That's the first thing I wondered. And the second thing was, I just don't think that the story, and maybe it will eventually, but I think out the gate, the story doesn't work hard enough to make me buy that Gordon would go ahead and do this. He's really apprehensive about it at first. He immediately just flat out says no. And I'm just not sure exactly what it is that convinces him. Powers has this speech to Gordon about how it has to be him, and how, you know, there might be like younger Batman and even like better looking Batman, but he's got the experience, it's got to be him. And I just don't feel like it's a convincing enough argument, because really all she says that he's got over anybody else is, "You know this city better than anybody else." There's a line where Bullock thinks he's 60. He's only in his early 40s. And so, I mean, like this job has taken so much of a toll on him already. And then, of course, there's that whole 52 thing of he's a really young Gordon at the beginning, and then now he's in his 40s. But anyway, so isn't it kind of odd that she doesn't go with the argument? And I don't mean to project, you know, like what I would do with this on it, but it just seems like it would make more sense from what we've seen already with this character for her to have more of an argument of, "You were right about Batman. I mean, like, we think Batman's so necessary, we're gonna make up our own Batman and put him on the police force." Why isn't the argument, "You were right about Batman, you understand Batman more than anybody else does, and you, having worked with him, have such a good sense of the balance that you would have to have between real police work and vigilante work, that you're the only person to be Batman." I'm not sure why that argument's not there, and I might have bought that more. So, I don't know, he has sort of a light switch thing where he kind of just obligatorily goes with it because we know he's going to be Batman. I I felt like that was a little bit sloppy. But anyway, I am intrigued. I'm not sure that the premise really works yet, but I guess we'll see. Really liking Bullock in this, though. It's going to be a lot of fun seeing them working together. He already knows that Jim Gordon is Batman. It's kind of odd that so much of the police department isn't even allowed to know his secret identity. I'm really not sure why that is. It's like, oh, well, Batman has a secret identity, so he has to have one too. I can understand. I mean, maybe the idea is that for some reason, we want to keep Batman faceless, so we're afraid that if too many people knew about him, it would get out. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that I could kind of see why they're there if there was, but we don't talk about it. So it's just sort of, here's a thing. I don't know what the logic is for the thing, but there it is. And I don't know. That's where we're at right now. I also wanted to mention that there are bits in this where, and I'd never noticed this before, but Greg Capullo is drawing Jim Gordon and Bullock next to each other, and they look almost exactly like Sam and Twitch. And of course, Capullo drew those characters forever in Spawn. And there was one panel where I was like, oh my god, he looks just like Sam Burke. And then the very next panel, I was like, oh my god, Jim Gordon right next to him looks like Twitch. And I feel like that's not by accident, and I'm going to start looking for more of that and see if there's any kind of potential character parallels, because now that I'm thinking about it, there might be a little bit in common with these characters, especially because more and more we're starting to make them partners in things, especially like other standalone continuities and stuff, like in Gotham and in Batman Year One and stuff like that. So anyway, I don't even want to say lukewarm. I enjoyed these a lot. I just don't know how I feel about the status quo. I don't think it's going to last all that long. I don't think Gordon will be in the Batsuit for more than 12 issues. But I guess we'll see moving forward. Anyway, so but I am definitely recommending this if you're reading this, and I would even say that as a companion, you might enjoy this more if you read this. Just know going in, though, that there are a couple things that might feel a little bit contradictory when you start reading this that turn out to make sense, because it's not real clear that a lot of this takes place before this. Let's go ahead and move on now. So much Batman. So much Batman. This is a book that came out a couple weeks ago, also, that I did not get my hands on at the time and decided to go ahead and try out. This is Dan Jurgens' Batman Beyond #1. It has been forever since I have read or reviewed Batman Beyond. A couple years ago, we had a book I was really liking when, actually, I say a couple years ago, this is what, like 4 years ago now, when we had Norm Breyfogle drawing for Adam Beechin, and loved that book. I talked to both of those guys, trying to drum up interest for that book, and then they started making it that digital first thing, and then when they would collect it in issues, you'd have like 3 different stories. You had Batman Beyond, Justice League Beyond, and Superman Beyond, and you weren't getting enough of the story at a time, and I lost interest and never went back and got the trades, and I need to do that at some point. But anyway, so I have not looked at Batman Beyond in a really long time, and I read a little bit of Future's End, which I'm really glad I did, because I think I would have been slightly lost here with all the Brother Eye stuff and all the discussion about Terry McGinnis going back in time and stuff. I am going to spoil things for Future's End. I have to in order to talk about this, so if that's a thing that you're waiting for in trade, or I don't know if that's out yet, or whatever, and you don't want to know how it ends, skip past this part of the video. But anyway, this is a really great jumping on point for Batman Beyond, especially if you've read some of Future's End, or and you don't really know much about Batman Beyond, because they have changed the future. So there's really not a lot of a prerequisite for this. Now, I will say that there are characters that you would appreciate more if you had watched some of the Batman Beyond TV show or read any of the comics, because some of those people are here. Like, Max is here, and some of the discussion about, how the future works and stuff like that is informed by that show, of course. And then even, like, the big character reveal at the end of this is a thing that you would appreciate, but you might appreciate if you know anything about Batman, but you might appreciate it more if you knew something about Batman Beyond. But if you were a fan of that show and you haven't read any Batman Beyond whatsoever, this is a great jumping on point, especially if you're reading current comics because this is supposed to be in the same continuity. Now, I don't know how loose we're gonna be with that, but anyway, the future that we knew already from previous Batman Beyond comics has been monkeyed with because of Terry McGinnis going back in time, and this is the big spoiler part. In Future's End, Terry McGinnis gets killed, apparently. Now, I didn't read the end of that, so that was news to me. I'm really glad I read this, because it got me caught up on that, and I just lost interest in that book pretty quickly because it was focused on so many characters that I wasn't really interested in and was having a hard time getting invested in as I was reading that book. I gave it 6 or 7 issues and ultimately quit on it. I may go back and read it, but I don't know. I'm glad that I know the how it ends now. And so this is not Terry McGinnis, and this is another reason that I say it's a good jumping on point if you know Batman. This is Tim Drake. Tim Drake in the Batman Beyond universe, in the Batman Beyond suit. Kinda neat. So he ends up coming into the future, and he's realizing that things aren't the way they used to be. Of course, he wasn't there in the first place, but he has an AI that's Alfred now, and it's very much the same kind of Jarvis Iron Man thing. And Alfred is telling him about all the things that have changed in the future, and so it's looking really bleak. Like Gotham, Brother Eye has destroyed pretty much everything but Gotham, and that's like, it looks like maybe the only city left. So we'll see how Judge Dredd that gets. But anyway, I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I think that I liked it more having read some Batman Beyond, but some of the post-apocalyptic stuff was kind of fun. It was neat to see Tim Drake come to the future and see just how messed up things have gotten. And you know, Tim Drake, I never liked New York and Gotham both existing in the same universe, but Tim Drake flying in front of a sunken Statue of Liberty was cool. He's having to fight Superman, who has been commandeered and changed and turned into a cyborg, like he was in Future's End, by Brother Eye. So it's all kind of bleak and disparaging, but it's also weirdly kind of fun. And like I said, I really would recommend this for anybody that hasn't been reading Batman Beyond in a while, but even folks that really don't know much about that future, because it's linked so well to present day, and is definitively now supposed to sort of be the future of current DC. Take that with a grain of salt, because you never know what's going to actually stick for very long with DC. But at least for right now, this is kind of fun. I enjoyed that. Next up, here is a book that I knew nothing about and randomly picked up on a whim on issue 6. I'll very briefly talk about this. This is Gotham by Midnight. Here's the thing I did not even know was happening. And the best way I can describe this is it has kind of a Justice League Dark kind of feel. It's basically, what if Gotham City Central was an occult horror comic. It's got very much a kind of dark, chilling, creepy, like horror pulp feel to it. And Corrigan is one of the main characters in it. So we've got the Spectre here, and then a lot of Gotham cops, and it's kind of a traditional ghost story. And we've got those cops and Corrigan, and I think a couple of other characters that I should know who they are, and seemed to be people that I had kind of heard their names but wasn't immediately sure who they were. Anyway, this is very much in the supernatural, dark magic side. The art is really gothic, and it being set in Gotham, of course, that's really appropriate. But it's kind of cool to see stuff that looks so really actually kind of gothic with this. And there's a decent mystery. It's somewhat typical, but I really enjoyed this, and I will be very surprised if at some point we don't see John Constantine in this book. But anyway, if you want something that's kind of spooky, fun book to sort of read by your lamp when you're about to go to bed, and you like horror pulps and that kind of thing, this is definitely up your alley. This is sort of like almost like a Vertigo Gotham book. Next up, this is strange. We Are Robin #1. I don't have a lot to say about this. Basically, what we have here is a street gang. We're just barely beginning to get a sense of this, but toward the end of this, we're finding that there is kind of a street gang post endgame that has come together because of what happened with all the Joker zombies. There's like a much bigger homeless population now, and there's a bunch of kind of civic-minded kids or just teenagers that feel like they need to protect their streets that have taken up the Robin mantle and have all come together, and they're trying to be Robins. And they actually don't even say they're Robins. We are Robin, almost like this collective thing. And interesting that they take that mantle over like a Batmantle or something. I guess the idea is Robin is always a teenager, and you know, we're these young kids that are trying to you know, live up to that legacy as opposed to the Bat legacy. I know a lot of the folks I know that are huge Robin fans are probably going to eat this up with a spoon because it embraces this idea that Robin has his own legacy that's kind of outside of Batman and represents something you know, slightly different. This kind of you know, independent youth thing, this idea that no matter how young you are, you can make a difference and you can do the right thing and you can stand up for people, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have an understanding of your own mortality, which is what this issue is all about. And it focuses on a kid that presumably will eventually get wrapped up in this and become a part of We Are Robin, a part of the Robin collective thing, and he is having difficulties because his parents disappeared during the whole Joker crisis, and he's jumping around from foster home to foster home now, and he was raised to be really smart and responsible and all of that, but he's kind of been thrown into the hood now, and he's not sure how to deal with that. And I really like the nuanced stuff about the cultural stuff about this kid living in that world already for a little bit too long, and he's starting to pick up the lingo, and he's not sounding as sophisticated as he used to, and that bothers him. And he has kind of his mother's voice is sort of in the back of his mind. I don't mean literally, but like you know, he can almost hear his mother telling him to watch his language and to speak correctly, and there's a lot of this kind of common sense stuff. I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. This is very much kind of urban crime fiction, and this, like I said, this Robin Street Gang, it's kind of like a positive gang, trying like almost a neighborhood watch kind of thing. Or at least so far that's what it sort of looks like it might be. And then there's this kind of like weird spooky voice at the end that is talking about that, and it might be something more than that. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, if you are a big fan of the Robin side of the Batverse, and if you like gritty urban street crime, you might enjoy this. DC right now is really touting themselves up as, we are trying not to make all of our stuff sound the same, which honestly should be a given in the first place, and they sort of said that with 52 when they had all these different titles that were all in the same canon, but they weren't all superhero things, and yet a lot of it did sort of sound and look the same, and you know, people complained that it was kind of 90s Marvel and stuff. There still is a lot of that. We're going to talk about some more DC here in a minute, some more weird, you know, brand new #1s that seem to be really strange things to get greenlit, but are kind of interesting. And I think that they are better at that right now than they have been, and I think that they are starting to loosen their grip and their reins a little bit. I've been saying this a lot lately on some of their creative talent, and there's some really good, smart writing and dialogue going on in some of these books right now, and so if you have not liked DC for a while, this might be a good time to try things out here and there. I still don't like the way that their editorial handles things as well as the way Marvel has been, and I still think that they make some really weird, strange, counterintuitive decisions, and the whole DCU thing irks me a little bit. And now we're going to do the last Batman book we have for this week. So much Batman! Here's Batman 66, number 24. Not a lot to say about this. This is a Marcia, Queen of Diamonds issue. Marcia. I've never liked her. I don't like her in the show. She has popped up a weird amount of times in this. And yeah, this issue is really cool. First of all, I really dig the art in this. The art is by, so this is written by Ray Fawkes. Ray Fawkes does a fantastic job. He's got some really great voice for both Batman and Robin in this, and there's a lot of really funny lines. But art by John Bogdanove, and I'm really enjoying enjoying the variety of different art styles that we've had in this book. It's mostly really pop art looking stuff, but still a really cool wide assortment. And what I appreciated the most about this was all the weird psychedelic stuff. Marcia manages to she has this machine that brainwashes people. She brainwashes Robin, and it reminds me a little bit of the episode "Armless but Not Harmless" in The Tick, where you have the villain Venus who is mind controlling people to fall in love with her, and you have that in this, and sort of that Poison Ivy Batman and Robin thing. And you know, it's a typical mind control plot, but it's Batman 66. I expect those kinds of typical things. This does some really fun things with the action, especially. There's this really cool psychedelic bit where Batman has to reprogram Robin. And I really like the way that that's visually interpreted, and all of the weird tie-dye psychedelic 60s stuff is really fun. But this is a really good example of the comic doing a lot of really cool over-the-top action that couldn't be done on a TV budget, but can be done in something like this. And I really enjoyed this, despite not being a big fan of that villain. Next up, I want to talk about Superman number 41. I'm a little bit perplexed about what exactly is going on with this truth thing, and I'm just going on the things that I've read. I didn't go online and do a whole bunch of research about what books are doing what with this. I just read this and have seen a couple issues here and there of things that already have the new status quo Superman whose identity has been outed and who doesn't have most of his powers. So apparently, because people keep saying to me, I'm really liking this truth stuff. I'm like, what truth stuff have we had already? I think that version is in the latest issue of Superman Wonder Woman. I haven't read that yet because I'm so behind on it, and that's part of the reason that I'm not caught up on my research with that stuff, is that there are a few books that I'm not caught up on yet still, that I have several issues back to read, and I don't want them spoiled for me. So anyway, so forgive me for being a little bit ignorant on what's going on here. I'm just going to talk about what I know about this. What's happening here is we're getting the genesis of Superman getting his identity outed, and what's going on, if you're not aware, is Lois Lane is, and this might have already been sort of dramatized somewhere. The thing is, I haven't read Superman for several issues, and that's one of the books that I'm not caught up on. So I don't know what Jeff Johns did with this before, but it was kind of just news that this was happening. So I don't think we've actually seen it yet, because I'm reading the origin of it now, and I just think it's really interesting that we're backtracking doing the origin of it, but then having him be like that in other places already, apparently. I thought his identity was going to get outed already here. We're just setting it up. This feels very Death of Superman, and I don't mean to always bring that up when I talk about Superman, but all I mean is, we know this thing's going to happen, here's how it happens. And I gotta tell you, I liked this a lot. I was really surprised, because I'm not sure how I feel about that whole idea, and I mean, I understand, I think it's a great idea to explore. I just don't know how long DC is actually going to keep it around, and if it's going to mess with story. So, somebody in the comments the other day, I made that point on a video somewhere, and somebody was like, well, I don't care about the continuity as long as the stories are good. And yes, I say the same thing, but the problem is, if we retcon a thing like that, you know, outside of a crisis or whatever, and, you know, we seem to do those frequently, so maybe it would take that. But, I mean, like, if we actually, like, retcon that sometime in the near future, it doesn't even go more than a couple of years or whatever, it seems likely that it would ruin those stories. Like, it would be part of that story and would maybe mess up what led up to it. So there might be some cool, smaller stories inside of it, but for the overarching narrative, how's that going to affect it? But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Let's just look at it for what it is right now, shall we? And at the moment, really digging it. I like Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen's relationship and dynamic a lot. I really appreciate this whole idea of Jimmy Olsen being Superman's confidant. It reminds me a little bit of what was done with Pete Ross in Smallville. Once he got over that initial hurdle of how dare you not tell me, it was kind of cool seeing him as the confidant, and the challenges that brought. And we've kind of got that with Jimmy Olsen here. Somebody is ominously sending Clark Kent messages, making it clear that they know that he's Superman. First, it's just some anonymous tips about things, and he goes to try to solve these cases, and it turns out that the tips are real. And then all of a sudden he gets all these pictures of Superman doing things, and it's clear that this person knows that he's Superman and that they're going to out him. And I don't think that the mysterious person doing that is Lois Lane. It's clear that something's going to happen probably where that person is going to out it, maybe to her, or she's going to find out about it somehow. If it turned out that she's the anonymous tip, and she's decided to do it in this like really, you know, dramatic kind of way, I'll be really surprised. That would be such a weird way for her to go about it. But I don't think it's her. I think it's somebody else. But anyway, I like Clark in this a lot. I feel like we have a very, and you know, piggybacking off of what Johns was doing, where he was really taking Superman back to his roots, and it felt like we were telling some fresh, crisp, modern day Superman stories, but we were returning him to something closer to the values and the way we're used to seeing Superman handle things, and just not even that so much as just the spirit of Superman, and this has that in spades. I recommend this wholeheartedly. I think this is a wonderful jumping on point. You can go ahead and start reading Superman right now, and I think that this is potentially a really good human story. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets to the, you know, more short hair Superman going around in jeans and a t-shirt, calling himself Kent. I'm not sure why he has to do that, except that if he can't fly, it might not be pointless to have a cape. But if he's Superman and everybody knows he's Superman, it seems like he would just be Superman as opposed to just being Clark Kent. And I guess that's some kind of a hybrid, really, because he's still wearing an S on his chest. We'll see how all of that ends up panning out, but so far so good. This Yang guy has a really good voice for these characters. His name is Jean-Lun Yang. I'm not familiar with him. He's new blood. I think that DC can really use some new blood right now, and I'm digging this. Looking forward to more. Really excited and surprised that I'm saying that. Next up, this is an odd book. Here is Midnighter #1. The mythology and stuff in this book is confusing and kind of you know, really involved, and I feel like I need to give it another read to really get a sense of what in the world I'm even looking at with this. So much weird terminology thrown at you right at the beginning. This is the dictionary definition of in medias res. It just throws you in, and it has all this really crazy sci-fi quirky terminology thrown at you. And you're like, okay, this all feels really imaginative, and somebody is having a lot of fun with this, but it sounds like a bunch of crazy technobabble to me so far. But I was intrigued by this. This is written by, let me find the credits on this real quick. Once again, I wish we could keep them in the same place every time, but I guess that's just asking for too much. This is one of those books that kind of has a teaser, so because they're trying to be cinematic kind of TV show, they give you a little teaser and then they tell you what the credits are. But this is Steve Orlando is writing and penciled by someone named Aiko. It's cool to have just one name. Anyway, this is kind of a supernatural, street level, again, another kind of urban violence kind of piece, and we've got this character who has a kind of a plethora of superpowers, and they're kind of baffling, and I still don't have my head around exactly what this guy is able to do yet. Again, I kind of want to give it another read, but just my first impression is I'm not 100% sure about everything I just looked at and what this guy can do and what this is about, but I like his personality a lot. This is a guy who loves being a superhero. He's really into the violence. He has a lot of fun with it, and I'm sure that will get him into trouble down the line, but he's just such a kind of fresh character with a lot of personality, and I didn't find him generic. And some of these new characters, and I applaud DC for trying to make up some new characters, but some of them seem so 90s, and just sort of, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that, you know, okay. the 90s is my favorite decade, but there's a lot of just like trying to for people my age hinge on nostalgia for that period, and if you tell stories the way a lot of 90s stories were told, it's really kind of generic and melodramatic and all about trying to look edgy and fight against the wholesome thing and just be you know, as violent and gritty and stuff as you can. You're not really telling stories. This definitely is telling a story. It's doing a really good job of getting this guy's head and making him kind of layered. He is a guy who's not really it's weird because he has a lot of fun when he's a superhero, but he also has a little bit of a bout of paranoia and as far as having relationships, and this is another one of those. How do you have an intimate relationship with another person while also being a superhero? This guy is and like he comes on too strong, and I think that's really interesting because, you know, he does that as a superhero and as his regular self. This is a gay guy, and I think that Orlando does a really good job of not throwing that in our face too hard and making it feel like it's that it's like a messagey thing, or like it's got an agenda that's just part of his character, and all of a sudden he's just having this like one-night stand with a guy, and it just plays like a romantic scene, and you know, a lot of the time you'll have a writer that will make just too big of a deal out of, look at me, I've got a gay character, and this guy's not doing that. He's just, his character happens to be homosexual, and there it is. And I thought it was really effective and really and like really mature in the right kind of way. So anyway, way with words, this Orlando guy. This is not exactly my cup of tea, I don't think, although I'm going to give it another read because I'm still not real sure about the power set and stuff. But if you're looking for a new superhero that you're unfamiliar with, and something kind of fresh and original, and something that's a little bit more hard-edged, you might enjoy this. Like I said, this guy's really got away with words, and this is a little bit Vertigo. So anyway, this is pretty cool. Doomed, #1. Okay, so I don't know what this thing's about. I don't know why we're doing this book. I took one look at this and went, really? We're gonna make up a character trying to capitalize on the Doomed Superman arc where Superman became Doomsday. Really? Now, I wasn't immediately sure that's what this was, but look at the font. And it's called Doomed. And having read the first issue, I still don't know if this has anything to do with Doomsday or that story arc. But I submit that we've got Metropolis and we've got Star Labs, and we've got this font. So it's likely it has something to do with that. Anyway, what we have here is a likable character who is really optimistic and trying to make the best of a not great situation. I like the protagonist. I am so not all that jazzed to continue reading on. This is Scott Lobdell doing a really good job to make me like his protagonist, but not really care all that much about reading his protagonist become a doomed. The whole thing is he a superhero or a villain? Well, I don't like it when you write that on the cover, but then there's no answer to that in the book, or even really a hint in the issue, because it's just the beginning of a really typical origin. He has a lab accident, and he's going to turn into this thing. That's what happens. He goes to Star Labs, and he's this kind of brilliant guy who I guess just got out of school or something, and he got a job at Star Labs, but he finds out that he's just a janitor, and he's like, oh, I'm just a janitor, but that's okay because I'm you know, at this great place that I want to work at, and maybe there, and he tries to put a positive spin on everything. That's what I like about him. And he's working with this woman that you know, is really negative about the whole thing, and she's like, yeah, we're just grunt workers, and then he starts to kind of feel that way himself, and then eventually he has an accident, and he does something stupid, and he ends up turning into this thing. I may give the second issue a try just because I think Scott Lobdell's doing fine narrative work with this, even though he's having to do it in kind of a typical lab accident sort of way. I don't know if this is one of those things that was kind of mandated editorially, and like he drew the straw that gave him this book, or if this is actually an idea that he had. I don't know, but just because the writing is pretty good, I want to give it another try. But I don't know, premise-wise, it's a little generic so far, and just seems like a thing that all of 8 people are likely to even think about picking up. Maybe 9 now that you've seen it. Maybe 9. Okay, really quick, because it's been a couple weeks since I've read it. I'm not going to say very much about this, but this is Constantine, the Hellblazer #1. I just wanted to mention this real quick because I really, really liked this. And if you've been, if you're like a big Hellblazer fan and you're like, oh man, why does it have to be in normal DC now and it's not Vertigo anymore? You might want to try this out, because this seems pretty faithful to what the Vertigo comics were, and having seen the TV show and loved it and being kind of annoyed that it's canceled, or actually being really annoyed that it's canceled and I'm gonna miss that show, this scratches that itch hard. A lot of the characters and ideas and things that were in the TV show are here, and of course, you know, the TV show was pretty faithful to the comics in the first place, so this is very much, you know, rooted in original, traditional, you know, Constantine stuff. It's all about him being responsible for horrible things that happen to people, and you know, he needs to just leave well enough alone, but he can't bring himself to do that. It's that kind of thing. But this is so quirky and imaginative. It's dark and it's edgy and it's violent, but it's also really fun, and the language in this is just wonderful. Also, it's I mean, just like a lot of really cool ways to put words together, a lot of really vivid imagery. This is also a really dense book. It took me probably 20-25 minutes to get through it, because there's so much dialogue and so many words, but it's not too wordy. It's a wordy book, but in a good way. It warrants it. It's a very dialogue-driven kind of thing, and all these characters have really unique voices. Really hard not to hear the guy, Ryan, the guy who played John in the TV show. Hard not to hear his voice in this, and really, really just super British. I liked this a lot. Next up, I want to talk about, before we get to Marvel stuff, I want to talk about Casey and April #1. This came out last week, and I wasn't able to get my hands on it. Also, Ghostbusters versus the Real Ghostbusters came out last week, the first issue of that, and I still haven't gotten my hands on that. My shop ran out of both of them, and they still haven't gotten that one in. So I got this. By the way, that book, I'm really interested to read it. Of course, I love Burnham, and Burnham's writing that. I'm really glad that he's getting to do another Ghostbusters thing, since his series got canceled, and he's a friend of mine. I really like him, and so I buy everything he writes. But I just don't understand that premise, because I'm like, okay, and I hope that he proves me wrong. I'm really interested to read it, because I'm like, are the Ghostbusters and the Real Ghostbusters characterized differently enough that putting them together makes that it would be fun to go, oh man, look at, like, okay, if you took you know, it's sort of like the 87 Ninja Turtles with the 2000s Ninja Turtles when they did Turtles Forever. It's like, okay, yeah, those are characterized very differently. It makes a lot of sense. You know, imagine if you did like a live action turtle thing in comics with current Turtles. You know, imagine if they went like Ninja Turtles 1990 meet these Ninja Turtles. You know, that would. Okay, this is the Mutanimals, but you know, meet the Ninja Turtles. What would that be like? But that, I don't know. It's like they're pretty close, at least in characterization. Anyway, I digress. Moving on. This is Casey and April take a road trip and get on each other's nerves, the comic book. That's what this is so far. Really excited about the villain that's brought in at the end of this. I won't give away who it is, but it's one of my favorites, and we've seen him one time in the Ninja Turtles comics so far, I think one time, and I just loved the way he was done. He's creepy and wonderful and strange, and really powerful, and if you've been reading this book, you probably know who I'm talking about right now, but incredibly mysterious, and he's going to be in this, and I'm very excited about that. I love how Casey and April are characterized in the current Ninja Turtles comics. Their relationship is believable and warm and real, and they have it's not just this, like, Casey's not just this macho guy. He is really thoughtful and really genuinely cares about April, and I think there's a real chemistry between them, and I think that's the right word, is that they're just genuine together. Casey's insecurities start to really come out here on this road trip, and at first I resisted it because it really did kind of seem a little bit like that typical melodramatic, let's find a reason to make these people get this couple get in a fight so that we can create some drama. But as I read, I felt I mean, it's a little bit tedious to get through, but that's more of a taste issue. That's more of a, I don't really like reading this kind of relationship story a lot of the time. But it won me over for the most part, because it seems to be all about Casey feeling like he doesn't really deserve April. She is brilliant, and there's a lot of there's a lot of comparison between their parents, which I think is really cool. And of course, we are, to a certain degree, product of our upbringing, and so we've got a lot of talk about how April's parents were really nurturing, and they taught her a lot, and they were scholars, so she got a lot of that from them. And then contrast that, of course, with Casey, whose father was, and I don't really know anything all that much about his mother, but his father was abusive and was not educated, and brought him up in a bad neighborhood and all of that, and so he just feels like he's maybe not smart and good enough for April, and that's starting to come out a little bit, and it makes a lot of sense that getting them together by themselves, some of that stuff's coming out that hasn't before, because they haven't really had a lot of time alone together, because they've been dealing with all of the Foot Clan stuff and the Krang stuff and helping out the Turtles and all that. They haven't really had a time for a relationship, so they're dating. They know they like each other. They know they know that they're getting maybe somewhat serious, but they haven't really had enough time to get to know each other as hard as I think they have. And there's a lot of maturity to the writing here. I don't care for the artistic choice. I think the art is okay. And every time I say this about a book, somebody complains, and I apologize. Some of it's just my sensibilities, but I also don't know that it works real great with this material. This is just too manga inspired for my taste. Most of the rest of the Ninja Turtles does not have this kind of art style, and I get that this is a relationship thing, and there's a lot of very wordy relationship mangas that are all about characters being in love and the the traditional Japanese weto thing, and I get that, and that's totally cool, and I can kind of see why we went that way, but it's not like American comics can't also be about those things. So anyway, I don't know. I found that a little bit distracting, just because it's I don't know. It's just not what the kind of art that we've been getting from it. Now, there are different art styles that we've been using, but for this, I feel like I'm digging myself a bigger hole here. I don't like that art style for this material. That's as far as I'm going to explain that. But anyway, overall, I would really recommend this to the hardcore Turtles readers. And if you haven't been reading Turtles, or if you're not caught up or whatever, I think this is a thing that you could just pick up and read. I don't know if you would enjoy it as much if you haven't been reading Turtles lately, just because it's hard for me to gauge, because I've been invested in these characters for a while now. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with it so far, and really excited about the villain reveal at the end. Let's move on to Marvel and get to my most anticipated tie-in series for Secret Wars. This is X-Men 92. Oh boy, this is cool. So I was really looking forward to this. I was not disappointed. This is written by, who is this? Okay, Chris Sims and Chad Bowers with art by Scott Koblish. Scott Koblish nails, and I always like Koblish, but man, he nails the X-Men 92 style. It is really authentic. I was hearing the theme song while reading this throughout the whole thing. It's incredibly early 90s. Like, it's not just that TV show. It looks like X-Men comics from that period. It's written that way. It's really wordy. There's a little bit more dialogue than you need a lot. It's all really melodramatic. A lot of the dialogue is kind of static and one note, and like, you know, every character has kind of their character gimmick, and yeah, they have their own voices, but it's kind of like just based on like stereotypes for wherever those characters are from. You know, with like the kind of token Cajun words and phonetic stuff that Gambit's always throwing out and that sort of thing. Jubilee is constantly annoyed that she doesn't get to go on more missions, and it's as grating as it was in the TV show. All the things that are annoying about the TV show are kind of kitschy from that period are here, and that's part of the charm of it, and I kind of enjoyed that, and I don't think that it's too heavy. I mean, I don't think it's that stuff is overused or laid on too thick. I think it's pretty much exactly like it was, and you know, the same ratio, and I really like it. What I wish we could do with this, and this is a thing that I hope might stick around, kind of like Batman 66. What I wish we could do with this is just get away from Secret Wars. I love Secret Wars, and the battle world idea has been working really well with a lot of these, but it gets in the way here because we've got an X-Men team that's a lot like the 90s team, and like I said, the dialogue is a lot of it is fantastic, and really authentic. But they know about the God Doom, and they're in this weird different status quo where the mutants are kind of living in harmony with the humans, or getting really close to that. And the premise here is that there's this really super creepy lady who has set up who I won't reveal who she is, but it's interesting, who's kind of set up this island where she's reprogramming mutants that were kind of evil mutants before, and of course, this will surprise no one, she has a much more sinister scheme up her sleeve, and for a while it looks like there's no conflict. It looks like just and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I think that there's a good amount of suspense there, and there was a lot of that in that TV show where it's like everything's good, and then boom, everything's awful, and that's kind of just X-Men at the core anyway. So the premise is kind of cool, but it's, you know, it's in the middle of this battle world thing. Like we've got like Baron Kelly instead of Senator Kelly, and he was given that title, I guess, by Doom or by Doomguard or something. And I don't know, that stuff is, you know, if we had to have that in order to get this book, fine. But it's making me, I like it with regard to the rest of Battle World and stuff, but I am finding myself kind of hoping that eventually we can get a straight-up X-Men 92 book that's not involved with all that stuff. Wolverine has one of the coolest Wolverine lines I've ever seen, and one of the funniest Wolverine lines. I'm surprised that I've never read this in anything else before, where somebody tells Wolverine, who's heard of him, oh, I thought you'd be taller, and he says, so did I, and I think that's hilarious. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. It's really fun. At the beginning of this, they're playing laser tag because something's wrong with the danger room, and or it's being like fixed or remodeled or something, and so they're training in a mall. There's this really cool idea also permeating through this of whether or not Professor X is actually kind of clinging to a status quo, where maybe he sort of never really did want the mutants and the humans to coexist. But like he does, that's what he's about, but maybe because he's so about a cause, he doesn't know what to do with himself without it, and so he's really suspicious of what's going on in this mountain, and he and Cyclops kind of butt heads because Cyclops wants out. He's ready for a normal life, and they're so close to being able to have that now. He wants to just trust these people and say, I don't need to be an X-Men man anymore, and leave. And so he says, after this mission, I'm finished. And that's an idea I haven't seen done a whole lot with Professor X, and it makes a whole lot of sense. And of course, there's a lot of stuff with Professor X, especially in this period, where maybe he's not quite as altruistic and noble as he appears to be, and he has a bit of a manipulative streak, and that is being explored in spades in this, and I really like that. This is a $5 issue. It's really dense. It is worth the extra pages. I've been complaining lately about $5 issues that are padded just to get that extra dollar out of you. This is not that way. This just is telling a lot of story, and is really dense, and it takes, you know, this is like a whole half hour for me to get through this, and was worth it. It was a lot of fun to live with these characters for this long, and I'm looking forward to more. Next up, real quick, Infinity Gauntlet number 2. This is nothing like the Infinity Gauntlet you know. Nothing at all. This is a family of Nova Corps, or rather, there's a lady who's in the Nova Corps who's left for a long time. I didn't talk about the first issue, so I'll do this real quick. And her family is in a post-apocalyptic world that's run by big, giant bugs, and Thanos is responsible for it. That's how we get Thanos in here. And the Nova Corps lady has found the Mind Stone, and she has come back to Earth in order to make the rest of her family Nova Corps members so that they can go off and find the rest of the Infinity Stones, I guess, and they got to deal with Thanos. So anyway, it's a really kind of heartfelt family story about priorities, and you know, this lady had to kind of give up her family in order to join the Nova Corps for a higher purpose, and the question is, did she have more of a duty to her family than she did to that? And then the family kind of gets to walk like literally or fly you know a few miles in her shoes, and I like these people. I think that they're believable and real, and it is nothing like the direction I thought that going back to Infinity Gauntlet would be, but it's really entertaining, and it's kind of a touching piece so far. Next up, Daredevil number 16. So this is touching. This is mortifying. Matt Murdock is so desperate right now, and by the way, I'm not fully caught up on Daredevil, but I went ahead and read this issue, and it was surprisingly easy to jump back into from what I knew from before. This would be informed a lot more if I was reading the Shroud stuff from the last several issues. So again, I'll be very brief on this because I'm not caught up, and I don't know everything. But basically where we're at right now, and this should make you want to just pick this issue up by itself, I think. Where we're at right now is Matt Murdock has stopped wearing his Daredevil costume because everybody knows he's Daredevil, so now he wears this really cool purple suit and he goes out and fights in that, which I think is just totally badass. And I would love to see the TV show come up with some reason for him to have to do that, because I think it's awesome. And anyway, his friends are in such dire straits and are being threatened by the Shroud that Matt Murdock feels the need to make a deal with the Kingpin in order to save them. And there is this brilliant conversation between him and the Kingpin at the beginning of this, with this incredible reveal of a thing that Matt can't see that is all around him the whole time, that tells you everything you need to know about the Kingpin and how he's going to handle this moving forward. And bringing him in again, and the way they're doing it, it's just absolutely wonderful. Matt's in the worst place he's ever been, and or at least it sure feels like it while you're reading this. And it's really super sad, and we're almost at the end. The next story arc, I guess, is the last one, and you know, of course, because we've got Secret Wars going on, and so you know we've got to wrap this up. And I think that's going to be, you know, Mark Waid's finishing move, his big finish on this stand. I'm not going to say anything more about this, but this book is always brilliant. It's been a few months since I've read this. I've been so behind on stuff. I need to catch up on it, and it made me feel really stupid for not having been reading it, because it's absolutely brilliant. And the way that it's connecting back up to his first run before the numbering started over is awesome, and I really didn't expect it. And as I often am with this book, I finished it and I put it down, and I just had to kind of take a couple of deep breaths, because this is an intense experience almost every time. So last thing, here is 2 issues that are already out for a series, and I picked them both up because I didn't realize that a character that I collect issues of was in this. So here's a book that I didn't expect to read. It's MODOK Assassin! Why? MODOK Assassin, because of Angela. I collect Angela. I'm buying every issue she's in, because of course, you know, I hesitate to say I'm a Spawn guy after Spawn year. I don't like a lot of that stuff, but I collect Spawn. I have a lot of that, and I have every issue Angela's ever appeared in. Now that she's in Marvel, I'm having to buy more of it. So anyway, I went ahead and bought these, and this is really interesting and really fun. MODOK is going around killing people, because that's what MODOK does. That's his job. He's for only killing, and he gets attacked by Angela because Angela thinks that he tried to kill her, and it turns out that he didn't. And then, the last thing he ever would have expected, or me, is he falls in love with her at first sight. And MODOK has to figure out how to reconcile his killing everything programming with his sudden newfound love for Angela. And at the end of the second issue, something kind of surprising and fun happens that puts them both maybe more on the same side. And I'm kind of really excited to read the third issue. This is charming and hilarious, and you know, it's violent but almost kind of cartoon violent, and it's absolutely hysterical. I really recommend it. I think it's a lot of fun, and there's not a lot being done with Angela as far as that would like inform you of all the really interesting character stuff that Gillen's been doing with her. So if you don't really know anything about this character, she's kind of gonna feel more like she, at least so far, like she has in Guardians, where it's okay, you're kind of a no-nonsense assassin chick, but like, what are you about? None of the stuff about her like philosophy about bartering and everything at a price, and you know, making sure that she lives up to every bargain she makes and all that stuff. None of that's in this so far. And also, I'm a little bit not sure if she is exactly the same character, because she is one of the Thors, and she looks like Angela, but she has a hammer, and she's been lumped in with the big army of Thors. It is kind of fun, too, that MODOK is, if memory serves, aware of all of the different regions of Battleworld, where you know everybody in Battleworld thinks that theirs is the only one, and they're not aware of all the other ones. But there are some characters that have more cosmic awareness, and he's one of them. Oh, speaking of that, also there was a really fun term. Oh, by the way, this is Yost, Christopher Yost. I didn't even realize that, or had forgotten about it. He's always good, and really likes this kind of quirky, weird stuff, and he's really good at it. Anyway, there's a great term that he coined in this, where MODOK. I love MODOK's internal monologue, and all of the kind of computer stuff mixed in with the snarkiness. And he says, at what point he coins the phrase temporal stupidity, which I thought was pretty great. So anyway, that is it. There are all of my reviews for this week, and now let's go ahead and get to Book of the Week and then Cover of the Week. And as I often do, I've not really chosen yet what my favorite Book of the Week is. I'm looking at everything right now. Well, it's easy, but I'm going to have to say Daredevil. This just really got me, and it was really fun to get back to this after reading the Daredevil, or after watching the Daredevil TV show and loving it so much. Yeah, so good. So good. Cover of the Week, I don't know. I'm really digging this MODOK stuff. MODOK holding just a regular hammer, I think, is pretty hilarious. But let's see if there's anything else. No cover is just really jumping out at me as brilliant this week. Maybe I'd have to give it, if not that, to the Joker 75th anniversary cover. And of course, I'm not getting all of these, and I don't see all of them because sometimes the store just doesn't have them. But here is the one for Superman 41, and it's Superman flying with the Joker in a dress, parroting the "Can you read my mind" thing from Superman 78. That's pretty funny. Anyway, that's it for me. So everybody, thanks always for watching. Sure appreciate it. Once again, if you're ever in the Kansas City area, make sure to check out Elite Comics in Overland Park. And also, if you'd ever like to send me anything for review on the Comic Vault, you can always send that to our P.O. Box, and that is right there on your screen at this very minute. Isn't that convenient? Thanks for watching. Sure appreciate it, and I will see you again next week. I'm Captain Logan, and happy reading.